Hello, this is Stephen and Juliet from Open Square, and in today's video we're discussing a question we've received from an IT leader, which is, we've got a lot of remote teams, how do I act and how do I help to support them? So this is a fairly common thing in IT, and obviously with the COVID activity has been made very manifest for everybody, but we've all, certainly in complex IT, have had remote teams for a long time. So this is probably just good general advice, I would say. So how would you help to support remote teams or remote individuals?
So I think most people find it hard because when you're in a physical office, you're in one space, you can see body language, you can see how they're reacting, you see how they walk away, you see all the emotions. But you can do that with a team that works remotely. You've just got to almost like work a bit harder, but make sure you're not overloading your senses too much. So the best way to do it is I'm going to talk about active listening, and I think we've talked about it in the past, but it is a skill that you can learn, because when you're actively listening, you can see and hear everything that's going on with that individual. Now, it's harder if you've got 40 people on a Zoom call, for example, or on Teams. But when you're conducting one-to-ones with the teams, you are sat there holding space with them and listening to their whole self, listening to what they're saying. You're looking at what they're doing. So you can't just jump. If you're not experiencing this, you can't just jump on a call and go, "How are things?" and you're busy writing down. There's monitors going everywhere, and all of a sudden you find there's a complete disconnect. You have to hold that moment with that individual. So we were talking earlier about, a number of monitors. So typically within IT teams, there's 2, maybe even 3 monitors. They're all around them on their desk. And the danger with that is that both of you aren't looking into the camera or on one screen, and you don't know if they're listening, and they don't know if you're listening and paying attention. So make a conscious effort to look at them. So pay attention to that individual that is in front of you, and then show you're listening. So acknowledge them and don't interrupt them. Let them talk, whatever it is. So you find it. So you might go, "How's your day going?" And they'll go, "Oh, it's all right. It's fine," or "I've got this done." And then you maybe ask an exploratory question. So tell me a little bit more about that. And then just let them talk. And then you'll get a sense of where they are, what they're doing and how they're feeling. And the more you do that, the more that people will go, "Actually, that was really useful." And the more you'll get out of it, because you'll be able to nudge them in the right way or remove those obstacles that they're facing at that time. What else would you add?
You may disagree, so I'll be interested to see how you say this. One to extend on what you just said, which was start with perhaps an open general question and then start to probe. One simple technique to start adopting is mirroring, where you literally repeat a few of the words or the key words that the person just said to you, and then leave a silence for them to be able to come back in. So if someone said, "Oh, that release was really difficult," and then the natural human behaviour there will allow them to kind of expand. So you're asking questions occasionally for clarity, or to build clarity. And it's not just clarity for you, because this isn't self-indulgent. It helps them build clarity on what it is that the situation that they're in. The thing I thought you may or may not disagree with is I sometimes give people hypotheses. So a crude example could be where you're talking about a situation that someone's in, and you don't need to go as far as to say, "If I were you, I would feel this way." But I might describe, when I've been in similar situations myself, this is how I felt and these are the kind of things I did. Does that resonate? Or so on. If the person on the other end is struggling to articulate themselves, or finding it difficult to describe the feeling, or even feeling that saying it out loud is a bit taboo, maybe you can offer some language. Would you agree with that, or would you say it's bad?
I think that's okay, because one thing that you do is you ask permission to say that. So you go, if I may, or may I, or here's what I think. So you are summarising to a point. So it comes back to, you do it, there's a little bit of mirroring in there. You're summarising as to what they've heard, or you may be given a hypothesis, but you're asking their permission to do that. So you can say, if I may, or here's what I think, or here's what I'm hearing, and you're almost like you're clarifying it with that individual. So you're not making any assumptions, you're just clarifying what they've said. Because they may go, no, it's not quite like that, it's like this. So again, it comes down to, it depends on the situation, but you can try different things, what works for you. But remembering that every individual is going to be different. So yes, you do want to offer your experience, you do want to be able to help them, but don't make assumptions that that's what they want to hear. So it's almost like a coaching style. So yes, ask permission to give your thoughts.
Okay, so where do we take this? If we want to support our remote teams better, the main theme here is invest more energy in your listening. Make sure that things like eye contact are happening through video rather than you're looking at the side of someone's head or whatever. Be very conscious that you're not in a physical environment and you can't see. Then the question was, how do you support the people more? So already by taking the time and the energy to listen intently, that will be helping or will be supporting. Presumably then those conversations will lead to a stage where you have an opportunity to say, well, what might help? What if this happened? Would you think that could support your situation? And you start to talk about things that might actually begin to work on some of the challenges or things that they need support with in the conversation. But allow them to have described the problem first.
Yes, and it comes back to that servant leadership, situation leadership style is, how can I help you? You know, that's the thing you want, that's the question you want to be asking. So if it helps you as a logical person, which most technical people are, if you're logically minded, then you can create a little framework that you're making notes on, but make sure you're not writing and looking down at a piece of paper, and make sure you're holding that attention. So that will take some practice, but you could have quite a large sheet of paper with 3 or 4 topics in. So what's the challenge, you know, the name of the person, what's the challenge they're facing, what's going on, what are they doing today, and then what are the opportunities, and you can just quickly make some word notes. So when you go back and summarise, you're reminding yourself and prompting yourself what's going on, and then you can go, okay, here's what I think, how can I help you?
Or here's what I understand.
Or here's what I understand,
better,
So it's always, here's an assumption.
But allow the other person to deal with it. Can I, just before we wrap up, the thing about paper, I write everything down. Every conversation I have, I write down in detail. If you're sat in a room with someone, they can see that you're doing that. So I call that out. If I'm working with somebody one-on-one, I'll say, I'm going to take some notes. If I'm looking away, that's because I'm doing that. And also, just from a natural point of view, staring directly, intently into someone's eyes for a full 5 minutes. It's a very painful and a weird thing to do in the first place. So everyone in this conversation is human. So embrace that and find out. You can even ask for feedback too, and ask the person whether or not the conversation was valuable or the situation was valuable too. But yeah, I would agree. It's a great place to start on that. Hold space. Have it. Hopefully you got some useful ideas from that video that you can use, and we'd love to hear if you try any of these out in conversations you have with your teams. We'd love to hear how you get on and get some feedback of what worked and what didn't. But for now, we'll say thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon on another video. Thanks.